Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. It's my true honor and privilege to introduce Saibishkumar Parameswaran. Although I feel like he does not require any introduction at all. I first got to hear about Saibish's name when Dennis Maharaj and Arthur Maharaj came to my home the day after the Aradhana celebration in 2019. And during lunch, some of the conversation went to old attendance. And Dennis mentioned to me, you should have seen Saibish's presentation of the Malayali devotees of Bhagavan, the servants in the old hall. I had not known who Saibish was, nor I had watched the video. Next day, when Dennis went back, sent me a link, and a week later or 2 weeks later when I saw him, he asked me, have you watched the video? I had not, and I told him so. And he mentioned, yeah, you like Saibish, I'm sure you'll get to know him really well. So since then, I had watched that video several times until I landed in Tampa in 2019 in December for that year's retreat. I still remember going to the temple in the Tampa, and Saibish was patting his crying baby on one hand. Ramana was a small baby, and he could not have known who I was, but I knew who he was. So I ran up to him saying, hi Saibish, how are you? He looked at me like, why are you talking to me? I'm patting a baby. But if I ever wanted to, and if I ever lapsed in my devotion, all I had to do is to call up Saibish. Within few seconds, my devotion is restored. His unwavering devotion to Bhagavan is something unparalleled. But not that unheard of. We have heard of that devotion through many of the old devotees and devotees of Bhagavan. So during COVID, Saibish reached out to me and said, can you translate one of the Tiruvasakam songs? So I was very delighted to send him that. A few days later he said, I have an idea. I think one of the retreats will have to see this presentation. And a few months later, he showed me a skeleton of that presentation. Ever since I've been praying that he should give the presentation. And last year, he was very reluctant, but this year, thanks to Nimi and Shri, they convinced him to do the presentation. We are surely here for a great conclusive event of this retreat. Saibish, the floor is yours.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. It almost looked like there's a saying in Malayalam that the gate is bigger than the house. I think the introduction was better than the presentation. The title of the talk is given as Ramana Japam. You all know what Japa means. That is, for those who are reciting the sacred word or name multiple times in devotion. Ramana Darshanam. Darshanam can also mean philosophy or a vision of a person. But here it is very simple terms used, Darshanam, to see Bhagavan. But we also had a couple of talks earlier talking about how to see God. So Ramana Darshanam really means a little deeper thing than just seeing the form of Bhagavan. Bhagavan himself asked in Ashtakam, Kandavan Yavanina Karathinul Nada, Kandavan Indrida Nindra Kande. You heard to accept my Tamil, okay? I'm just going to venture into it, but so which means that when we see Bhagavan, we really become non-existent. That is the real seeing. And in that meaning we are using it. He also says, Kandavan Yavanina Ashtakam, Idu on the Karnal Yavan, he asked in Ulla the Nalpadu, Karnal Yavan, Unadal Khan. That means to see him is really to become food for him, to be consumed by him. So that is the way we are using this So this is my prayer, not only for this presentation, but for my sadhana, your sadhana, and our life. I'm using a reverse order here. Usually people go with the original and then the English meaning, but I thought that, the people who sit here from the Tamil knowing world all know this. So I want to give more importance to the non-Tamil knowing people so that they can read the meaning and then they can go to the verses so they get more understanding about it. So the supplication is this: having born and tended me in the world in the form of my mother and father, before I fell and drowned in the deep ocean of that worldly illusion we call Maya, Bhagavan is saying to Arunachala, you entered my mind, pulled me and established me at your feet. O Arunachala, who is the nature of consciousness, what a wonder of your grace is this. Now we have got a wonderful recitation team, so you don't need to be bored with me. Please. Do you want to?
பூமியில் ஆக்கி அழித்து அம்மகிமாயை நாட்கடலில் வீழ்ந்து யான் ஆழ்ந்திடும் முன் என் மனமண்ணி இழுத்தூன் பதத்தில் இருத்தினையார் சின்மயனாம் அருணாச்சலாவின் அருள் சித்திரம் என்னே.
So Bhagavan says, Ammayum Appanum Ayi. So Bhagavan always goes one step further. So this is taken from Navamadhimalai, which is written after the Ramana Stuti Panchagam, which was written by Satyamangalam Venkataramayar. Satyamangalam Venkataramayar in his famous work, Ramana Sadguru says, Appiluppena en managuhai oppi nindidum annalan, appan oppavan, annai oppavan, albuda purulanavan. Bhagavan takes it one step ahead. He says equal to Amma and Appa, equal to mother and father. Bhagavan doesn't stop there. He says Ammayum Appanum Ayi. That means you are the father and mother. So Arunachala is father and mother to Bhagavan, and for us it is Bhagavan. Aki Alithu Ammahimayam Alkadal Veeldiyan Aaldidum Mun. That's very important. He says Mun. Before even falling in, which is true. Bhagavan got enlightenment at the age of 16 years. That's the age where most people get into this worldly illusion and get drowned. So he has fallen down. But he has written like that. I should, again, I'm going to say me so that I don't disrespect you. But whoever can take it yourself as well. I have drowned. So if you ever drown in an ocean, the ocean of worldly illusion, I have drowned. If I come up to here, I try my hands and try to swim. But what if the water comes up here? I can't do that. I can shout with the top of my voice, save me, save me. But if water comes up to the eyes, you can only look around for some help. For me, I'm drowned, totally drowned in the ocean. And under the ocean, in the mud, I am going under the mud. I don't have any chance of saving myself, but I still have faith in Bhagavan's grace that I'm saying that you will come and pull me out and then establish me at your feet. So that is the prayer for this presentation. Now, I have got a lot of acknowledgements. This work is not, I wouldn't say it is, I didn't copy from anybody, but there are a lot of inspiration from a lot of people. I hear a lot of talks, read a lot of books, satsangs, talks with fellow devotees, so everything must have inspired me. So nothing is original, I can't claim anything, but nothing is a copy. So that's what my take. And obviously the organizers, Sri Ramana Maharshi Heritage and the Tampa retreat team, wonderful team. I don't know how they conduct this every year. I am the first one to pull Mati like that. Is that happening? Is that happening? But I just have to ask. To conduct this is such a difficult job. But thank you for all the organizers. And the content and proof correction, Harimurthy is sitting in the front. Whenever there is a doubt in Tamil poems, whom do we go to? That's Harimurthy, right? So, and Dr. Anil Sharma from Ottawa and Hari Pirail, my friend, has gone through the proof and gave you very invaluable suggestions. And look at the recitation team. You will hear their melodious voice. You don't need to hear me. And last of all, the patient audience. Without an audience, no presentation would happen. Now, that is acknowledgements. I have a lot of disclaimers too. I think whatever Hari taught about, everything is false. You will come to that. I'll come to that verse. Everything is false. Okay. I'm not a Tamil scholar. Actually, I don't know Tamil. I'm not a poet. I don't know how to sing. I don't know music. Actually, speaking Bhagwan's literature also, I only a little bit. And my English, the ability on English articulation is also just average only. So I don't have any credential to stand in front of you, but I'm shamelessly standing in front of you. So I want to say that, you know, I want, what I want to say? I'm just, you know, I just want to, I don't feel though like, you know, you're coming to a place where you don't belong to, because this is my family. So I will be very natural here, and I want you to be like that too. You can cry, you can laugh, you can sleep, snore, or meditate. You can ask any number of questions. Most of them I don't know the answer, but you can ask. You can ask. But at least towards the end, I want all of you to make it an interior journey. I mean, that's the kind of an attempt to that. That's the real satsang, right? So if you can get there towards the end, that'll be fine. So the intention, nothing is new. You all know all this stuff I'm going to talk. And I know all of you have an ocean of devotion in your heart. Ocean of devotion. If a drop is added by this presentation, I'm happy. Now the agenda, as Hari was mentioning, this idea of the talk was, this is purely devotional or imaginative. There is not much research. So if you're looking for facts, this is not the place. I mean, this is more bhavana, this is like imagination. And it's all triggered by a question. That question I'll come in the next slide, because that's a little longer question. All triggered by a question that happened to me in like 2019, as early as 2019. It is all about Periya Purana. I will come to that in a bit. To stress the fact that the fact and truth, there is a difference. I'm going to tell a story. Okay. There was a Kerala devotee who came to Bhagavan when Bhagavan was in, I'm not sure whether Ramana was Kandashram. He was overwhelmed by Bhagavan's presence, and you know, he knew that this is something different I'm seeing. So he asked around. There's no biography of Bhagavan written until then. B.V. Narasimha Swami, the biographer, is working on it. So Bhagavan and the other devotees directed him there. So he went there. So he got a lot of information, but B.V. Narasimha Swami was very meticulous. You know, he's going. He couldn't wait that long. So he thought of making it up himself. He wrote a biography of Bhagavan in Malayalam, and very very quickly he brought it to Bhagavan, and all the devotees were surprised. How quick! Bhagavan is the only person who knows Malayalam. Malayalam is a language in Kerala which I belong to. Almost all the crazy people come from there. So Bhagavan looked at it, and as you know, Bhagavan is so meticulous in correcting a sentence, a word, a letter in the teachings. He's not that careful in his life, so he just corrected the spellings, gave it back to him, and this guy is going to get it printed. And by that time, Kunju Swami comes. He's from Kerala. He's the only person. So everybody says, Kunju Swami, why didn't you read it? Kunju Swami started reading. Wow, he was surprised. He said, did Bhagavan read this all mistakes? So then everybody, Bhagavan corrected it. You can see it. So then he ran. Bhagavan went for a walk or something. He ran. And then Bhagavan was, he said, Bhagavan, what is this written? You corrected it. It's all mistakes. Tappu tappa idhirgare. So Bhagavan took it, and Bhagavan did a meaningful look to Kunju Swami and said, oh, is this the only false? Rest everything is true? That means from Bhagavan, he asked something like, Idu mattandan poyo, meedi ella meyyo, which from Bhagavan's absolute point, in a world which is all false, what is that? A falsehood. What is a fact? What is truth? So if everything is false, then this is false, the person who wrote is false, the Kunju Swami is also false, and the Bhagavan's body, which is born in Tiruchuri, that's also false for Bhagavan, not for us. So it is. I felt that that's very very meaningful. But when we write something and when we make, I totally understand. We have to be meticulous. We have to be to the point. But as a sadhaka, you have a bhava, you have a bhavana, you have all the liberty. So I'm going to take a lot of liberties. I don't want to hurt anybody. So if I ever hurt anybody's emotions or anything, just come back to me. It's just unintentional. Okay. So that's the question, the first question. And then anybody who hasn't read Periya Purana, you can raise your hands, no problem. Okay, no problem. anybody who hasn't heard about the four major devotees in the Tamil literature, Appar, Jnanasambandar, Manikavajagar, and Sundaramurti? Totally fine. I mean, I am with you. So I'm going to explain a little bit about them. But one thing is that is Periya Puranam is the only book, spiritual book Bhagavan read before he got enlightenment. So that shows the weight of that book, right? And those devotees, if you read Periya Puranam, you will be like unbelievable devotion. You wouldn't believe that devotion. Can it exist? That's my impression first. But then when I come to the Ramana world and I saw some of the devotees, I don't want to mention names. Nimi specifically want me, no names. So I'm not mentioning anybody's name. But somebody's devotion I saw, I thought, okay, this is still possible. Now, so I took four devotees from that era, the Appar Swami, Sambandar, Sundarar, and Manikavajakar. Why those four are important? They are well known, and about them a lot is written, so we know them. Secondly, they have written a lot of poems, so we know their poetry. Doesn't mean all the other 63 and the other people, the devotion was any less. It's just that their stories are shorter and they haven't written poems. So I want you to take the message that I'm not mentioning that there's four people with the feeling that they are only important. No. Then I thought, okay, when Bhagavan came as Lord Shiva, we had those devotees. So who are those devotees now? So you know Ganesh Nana has written Ramana Periya Puranam. Last year Satya has written a wonderful work. He wrote a verse on each of Bhagavan's devotees and made it a beautiful poem. My question was, can I take anybody from Bhagavan's life now who are comparable to these four? Like Appar, Sambandar, Manikavajagar. So that's a lot of kind of just bhavana work. And you might have your own pick and you might not agree with me. But excuse me if I am again, deviating from the facts. Then the next thing I thought was, well, I got the famous four devotees, I got comparable devotees in Ramana literature. And as and when I read and I heard something, some of the poems resonate with you, you write it down in your journal, and sometimes you rearrange it and then you make it. Then I thought I will take, my brain is very small, so I can't take too many things. I thought I'll take one verse from each and put it in an order to help my sadhana, and that's what this presentation is all about. It is a presentation which helped my sadhana, and that's the reason why I was very hesitant to present, because I don't know whether this will be helpful, but somebody was very persistent. And finally, you will see that there is a lot of mention about Japam as a sadhana. Now, this is the first question that came to me. Bhagavan is Lord Shiva. To me, Bhagavan is Parabrahma. Bhagavan is the only reality for me and for many of you. And this is the question. Bhagavan attained, after the death experience, attained self-realization in Madurai. Only 6 weeks later, he came to Arunachala. In between that 6 weeks, there is mention about he going to temple and crying in front of the 63 saints. Why did he cry? I read about it only in the biography. It says, when will I have devotion like these people? That's Bhagavan said. The same thing is repeated in Devaraja Mudaliar's reminiscences, like, when will I have devotion? That was the thought I had. It didn't satisfy me, because I thought, if Bhagavan is Lord Shiva, why should he cry? Bhagavan very cryptically says in Navamani Malai that Tan Padam Yenak Tandaran Shivakka Chinmayam Cherikya Tanmaya. Lord Shiva has given him his state. He says in the poem. But as you know, Bhagavan would mask his presence, right? Miracles after miracle happen in the hall around the devotees. When it comes to him, he's like, oh, is that so? Something like that. So whatever he says, he's trying to mask his. So this is the question. So where did I get the answer? I heard a pravajanam by a person called Sri Anna. There's a lot of sidetracking from the presentation. Sorry. Sri Anna, Bhagavata pravajanam. It is about a Mahabharata story. Again, excuse me if anybody doesn't know Mahabharata. I'm going to just tell briefly. Mahabharata is an epic battle between the two sets of cousins. The Kauravas on one side, 100 of them. Pandavas on the other side, 5 of them. The 100 Kauravas have the kingdom and all the people in the kingdom with them, but they are non-virtuous. Pandavas are virtuous, they don't have anybody, so Lord Sri Krishna is with them. Now the battle goes. Now, even though Kauravas are mostly the non-virtuous people, some of the elders like Bhishma, who is an embodiment of Dharma, is with Kaurava. He has to fight with the Kauravas because he is duty bound there. But he loves the Pandavas. Imagine the struggle. And not only that he is fighting against Krishna, but he is a fierce warrior. Nobody can defeat him. Nobody can kill him. He is creating havoc in the army. Killing Pandavas by thousands, 10,000s every day. Arjuna cannot even meet him. So finally, the Pandavas had a meeting. They said, okay, let's go to him. They went to Bhishma himself and asked grand uncle. Bhishma is actually grand uncle to the Kauravas and Pandavas. They went to grand uncle and they said, grand uncle, we cannot kill you. You are so brave, so strong. How can we kill you? That's the question. So you can imagine the kind of life he lived, right? So he said, yes, when I have my bow and arrow, nobody can defeat me. So you do one thing, you do this. I'm not going to the details. It is going to take a lot of time. But you think about that selfless person. Then the next day, Bhishma falls. With hundreds of arrows piercing his body. He is so strong, arrows, full of arrows in his body. He lies down in the battle in a bed of arrows. Imagine the pain. His father has given him a boon, rather a curse, that he can die only when he wishes. So he can prolong his life. So he said he's going to prolong his life until an auspicious time comes. Which is again not true. Because as soon as he fallen, it is said that in the story, the Devatas, the goddesses, rishis from Manasarovar came in the form of swans to take him wherever he wanted. I want to go. Let him leave him there. The Pandavas won the battle eventually, and the eldest of the Pandavas became the king, Yudhishthira. He is also an embodiment of Dharma, but he was grief-stricken, he was remorse-stricken that how much mistakes I have done. All the elders told him, it's okay, you rule the world. They gave all the advices, he is not pacified. So finally he said, okay, then you go to Bhishma. He is still lying down in the battlefield. He is an embodiment of Dharma. He will teach you everything. But Yudhishthira is a bit hesitant to go because whatever he has done, right? So obviously where will he go? He go to Lord Krishna. So Lord Sri Krishna he goes. Lord Sri Krishna is considered as the Purna avatar of Vishnu. And whenever there is a doubt, Yudhishthira goes there. Then Yudhishthira goes there. Krishna is in his inner chambers or puja room. Yudhishthira waits and waits and waits. Long time. Krishna comes out. Cheeks are all soaked with tears. Ears are all wet. And Yudhishthira is surprised. He said, Lord Krishna, we all pray to you. We cry for you. For whom are you crying? Why are you crying? And in the story of Mahabharata and Bhagavata, very seldom Krishna cries. I mean, he's always happy. So Krishna says, Yudhishthira, I know why you are here. You want to meet some person, Bhishma, and for him only I am crying. Why? Because he is a silent devotee of mine. He is much older than me. With this merit itself, he can go to any worlds. But he is waiting to see me. He wants to see me before he dies. He wants to see my form in front of his eyes before he passes away. For that, he is suffering all the pain, not telling anybody, silently praying to me to come. And he was always a big devotee of me, but he did not have the luck of you, Yudhishthira or Arjuna, to come close to me. Whenever he had an opportunity, he kind of worshipped me. Just like Yudhishthira's Rajasuya, Yudhishthira goes to Bhishma and asks, who is the person to worship first? Veda Vyasa is sitting there, Bhishma is there, all the elders are there. Bhishma says, go to Krishna. So Krishna knew how much he loved Krishna. So Krishna says, for that selfless devotee who suffer all the pain just to have a vision of me, the tears are in my eyes. For whom else I would cry? Krishna asked. And when I heard that, I got my answer. For whom else Bhagavan would cry? If Bhagavan is Lord Shiva, he will remember those 63 devotees. And then he go to the 63 devotees, what else he will do? He will cry. For those devotees of his. When people ask, he will tell something else. But that is the way I took it. So that also tells the importance of this the 63 saints and the 4 devotees. Here we have all the 4 there. And I want to tell one more thing, that even though the four are taken from Periya Purana, Manikavajakar doesn't belong to Periya Purana, but when they combine the four major devotees, they put them together. Is that correct? Scholar, my teachers are sitting there, so I have to be very, very careful. So the small one, this one is the one is Jnana Sambandha, the one with the spade is Apar Swami, the next one is Sundarar in Atreya, and then the last one is Manikavajakar. So we are going to go briefly over all of them and then go. Alright. So they are called the Nalvar. Everybody of them are extremely devoted to Lord Shiva, but predominantly Manikavajakar had a beloved kind of an attitude. Jnana Sambandar was like a son to Lord Shiva, Sundarar was like a friend, and Apar Swami was like a servant. But things can be interchangeable. And I also might use Bhagavan and Shiva interchangeably. Just excuse me, maybe unintentionally. Now coming to Manikavajakar. That picture itself tells a lot. I just put one saying from Manikavajakar to give you a glimpse of his style of his poems. He says, "You, Lord Shiva, better correct my behavior, or else it will be a shame for you if I continue my mean ways and people know that I am your devotee." I really liked it because I feel the same, People consider me as a Ramana devotee. Am I a Ramana devotee? I don't know. So you better correct me because it's your duty. Brief history. I'm not going into details, just to get the flow. Manikavajakar was a minister to a Tamil king. He was extremely good in the ministerial things. I don't know how. Internally, he was always searching for the truth and the guru. And as an opportunity came, the king gave him some money to buy some horses. Off he goes. He doesn't want to buy horses, he wants to search for his guru. Lord Shiva by that time came to the nearby village and sitting as in the form of a guru waiting for him. And obviously, they have the darshan, and that's the kind of darshan I'm talking about in the front. Manikavajakar sees Lord Shiva, and then his real story finishes. He becomes a slave, a devotee to Lord Shiva. The rest of the story keep on going, like we don't want to go there. So that's how Manikavajakar come to Lord Shiva, and then the rest of the life he kind of sang and poems of exquisite beauty. He didn't bother to even write it down. So much so that Lord Shiva himself came in the end of his life to write down his works. And that is known as Tiruvachakam, and I don't need to tell about that to the Tamil people. It is one of the poems considered to be the highest standards of devotion. We are going to take one verse from Manikavajakar. He doesn't waste any time. He says the sadhaka, or the so-called I, is an illusion, doesn't exist. I am false. My heart is false. My love is also false. Although I am bound by my karma, you can be won over by crying for you. You are like honey, nectar, and the sweet juice of the sugar cane. O sweet Lord, please grant your grace to your devotee to come to your abode. So the Tamil is even more beautiful. Nimi, you want to go? No, okay. Yane poi, you have to listen to this will be like a saying. Yane poi, en nenchum poi, en anbum poi, Anal vinaye aldarunai peralame, Tene, amude, karimpin telive, Titikkum mane, arulai adiyen unai vandurumare. So if you look at this poem, there is also that cry comes. Just like the first question, why did Bhagavan cry? There is also cry. So these things will keep repeating, like Ardal, Arul, Lord's lotus feet, heart. These are the words which keep on coming in this. They also say the Lord's blissful dance in the heart, the devotee's born melting love. These kind of themes will keep repeating. So what Manikavajakar says is, the person I, the Saibish, he's a false. He doesn't exist. His heart doesn't exist. His love doesn't exist. But then we think it's negative, and it's totally negative. It's not. He says that by some mysterious arrangement, if you cry, you can come to me. That's what the Lord says. If you cry, you can come to me. Then you can ask, the cry can also be cheating, right? It could be, but don't ask me this. I mean, this is the Lord's plan. So if you cry, you will come to me. And then he describes Lord Shiva in all kind of ways. Then he says, Arulai adiyen me vandurumare. Only by your grace I can come to you. I mean, because if... I'm sorry?
No, you said crying for help. Like reminded, sorry to
Oh, no.
one example or one of the pravachanam I have heard by Sringeri Kariva a few years before, many years before. He says the sadhana should be like that your house is in fire or a tsunami has struck, as if, and then you're crying for help, and that's how your sadhana should be. So when you said that, I was reminded of it.
Very good, very apt way of saying that. In that cry, your ego almost melts because you cannot do anything, so you can only cry. So that's about Manika Vachakar. Now let us go to Jnanasambandha. So here you see Jnanasambandha, that's the little boy standing there near that palanquin. And the person who lies down there is Appar Swami. So I'm going to tell both their stories right now. Very briefly, you have, I forgot to tell, Manika Vachakar, Swami has done an excellent talk in the previous Tampa retreat. Refer back to that. Jnanasambandha, if you want details, last year he did a talk. So I'm only mentioning the important points, very small points here. So Jnanasambandha was born to a very pious Shiva devotee. In fact, his father was crying to Lord Shiva to get a son. Anybody believe in Jains? Anybody Jain origin here? Jains? No. I don't want to hurt anybody's emotions, some things might come here. So at that time, the Jains have kind of invaded both physically as well as philosophically, to an extent that in Tamil Nadu, mostly occupied by Jains, and Shiva devotion has come in less and less and less. So his father cried to Lord Shiva to get a son who can restore the faith of Shaivism in Tamil Nadu. And that's how this boy was born. Obviously, he was a wonder boy. At 3 years of age, his father took him to a nearby temple, to pray. And father was doing some rituals in the temple tank. 3-year-old boy, he started crying, he's hungry. The father didn't hear, but the real father heard. Lord Shiva couldn't stand this. Lord Shiva came with Parvati and gave him the breast milk. And imagine, it is the milk of wisdom, and then he gets enlightened. And then the rest of his life, from 3 years, he started composing poems of, what caliber I can't say. People say that he is the youngest of all the Tamil saints, but his poems are the toughest to decipher because of the depth. So that's Jnanasambandha. Now, coming to Appar Swami. Appar Swami lived at the same time, but by the time Jnanasambandha was like 5-6 years old, he is already 70 years old. Appar Swami's story is also like this. He was born to very pious Shiva devotees. His older sister was a devotee, but his parents died when he was very young. Even though he was trained in the Vedic tradition, he was pulled in by the Jain people, and he became a master in the Jain philosophy or Jain religion. His sister was very unhappy with that. She started crying to Lord Shiva. Everything is crying to Lord Shiva and to bring him back. So Lord Shiva gave Appar Swami tummy ache, which was not resolving by any means. He tried everything, medicine, everything he tried, but even the Jains did all their pujas, nothing worked. So he knew intuitively that only Lord Shiva can cure me. So then he comes back to Lord Shiva through his devoted sister. And then his tummy ache is gone, obviously. His story finished. He started composing poems. Little difference with Appar Swami is that Appar Swami not only was very devotional and with a lot of composing poems, he also cleaned up temple premises and a lot of karma yoga too. A very selfless person, as you will see. So now how did they meet? They both existed at the same time. Appar Swami, when he heard of this wonder kid, he wanted to meet him. He was going with his retinue. Jnanasambandha is coming with his retinue to meet him. He's in a palanquin. That palanquin was given by Lord Shiva himself because he's so small. He cannot walk really. So he is in the palanquin. By the time they are close, Jnanasambandha could smell that smell of self-realization of Appar Swami. So he's coming out of the palanquin. Where is he? Appar Swami sees this, he runs and falls at this 6-year-old boy's feet. So that's the picture you see. That tells you the kind of devotion and the selflessness they have. When he falls down at the feet, Jnanasambandha cannot take it. Such a senior devotee, he lifts him up saying, Appare. Appare means my father. Father. And that's when he got the name Appar Swami. Before that his name was Tirunavukkarashwar. And when Jnanasambandha lifted him up and called father, that name got stuck, Appar. So that's the story of that picture, and you got a little glimpse of their life. Now, before going to Jnana Sambandhar's verse, I had to tell his another story. Also stories, eh? The Pandya kingdom, the Pandya king was also Shiva devotee, but he was pulled in by the Jains and he became a Jain. And then not only that, he almost stopped Shiva worship in the kingdom. His wife and the minister were extremely sad. They started praying to Lord Shiva and they thought this wonder kid can come and do a debate and then restore the faith. Invitation was sent. The invitation reaches Jnana Sambandhar when Apar Swami is with him. So Apar Swami knows the Jain's cruelty very well because he when converted from Jain to the Shiva tradition, they gave him a tough time. They worked through a king, tried to imprison him, tried to push him down from a mountain, put a stone on him and put him on the ocean. Nothing worked. Lord Shiva's grace helped him, but he knew what the Jains can do. He had total faith in Jnana Sambandhar's powers, but still a little boy. So the paternal affection came. He said, look, don't go. The planetary positions are not good and the Jains are cruel. He basically set a stage for a beautiful poem to come out. So that's known as Kolarabadikam. I will just read and then English and then you come. So here what Jnana Sambandhar says is that whatever happens, Lord Shiva is in our hearts. Cohort of the lady with bamboo-like shoulders, that means Parvati. So they're describing Lord Shiva. God having a neck affected by swallowing poison, Neelakantan. One who plays Veena faultlessly. Veena means the very musical instrument, Indian musical instrument. One who wears the spotless moon and Ganga on his head, entered inside my heart and immediately made all the planetary forces, sun, moon, etc., benevolent, and they are good and are very good to the devotees of Shiva. So that is what he reassures Jnana Apar Swami. In fact, it is an instruction for us, basically.
Veyuru Tholi Pangan Vidamunda Kandan Miga Nalla Veenai Tadavi Masaru Tingal Gangai Mudimelaninde En Ulame Pugunda Adanar Nyayiru Tingal Sevvai Budan Vyalan Velli Sani Pambirandum Udane Asaru Nalla Nalla Avai Nalla Nalla Adiyar avarku migave.
Beautiful. So this poem, there are 10 verses and I really love it because every verse ends like this, like, don't worry, Lord Shiva is in the heart. But then everything comes from outside in, like, don't worry about the planetary positions, Lord Shiva is in the heart. Don't worry what day it is, Lord Shiva is in the heart. Don't worry what the environment is, Lord Shiva is in the heart. Don't worry when people do this and that, Shiva is in the heart. Don't worry if your body, mind, something happens, Lord Shiva. So it's like, it's almost like an inquiry process, really, if you really look at it. But this particular verse, for me, was enough. Now, there's a little bit of story here. As I told you, I am from Kerala. My Tamil knowledge is very limited. So when I heard this, the meaning that struck me was, Miga Nalla Veenai Tadavi en Ulame Pugunda Adana. That means I thought, he is playing Veena inside my heart. Instead of saying, that Lord Shiva who can play Veena very well entered my heart, I took it as, Lord Shiva is playing Veena inside my heart. But when I looked at the translation, that's not the way. So I looked at within my little reach, I just looked around, I couldn't find a solution. In fact, I didn't, at that time knew that Hari was an expert, but because I thought this is the right meaning, whatever I inferred was wrong, I didn't contact anybody. But as part of what Hari does, he in 2023 he started putting many poems translated into the Spirit of Tampa group. very selflessly. He just puts as it comes, you know. So he just translates it, and then suddenly this came, and then I saw Hari's translation. Here it goes. That came in May 2023. He says, Lord Shiva has Uma Devi who has a bamboo-like neck on his left side. His neck is blue because he drank poison. He adorns crescent moon and Ganga in his head. Since he is in my heart playing Veena. Remember, I didn't tell him. He just put it. All 9 planets told you to do it. As soon as I saw this, I called him. I said, Hari, this is what's happening. So we got very excited moments at that time. You know? So basically, and I feel there is a difference. I mean, at least I feel that instead of saying Lord Shiva who can play all kind of things, or he can do all kind of things, is inside my heart, versus Lord Shiva sitting there playing Veena, makes a lot of difference actually. Because when do you play Veena? When you are very happy. So Lord Shiva is playing. So when you are sad, still Lord Shiva is playing Veena in your heart, you know, happily. And that, if you really look at it, that Veena sound is only coming out as the sound right now. That Veena sound is only coming out as a breath right now. That Veena sound is the heartbeat. That Veena sound is the thing that sustains you all, basically. So I thought it was really, really beautiful. Now coming to Sundara. So Sundara, you see that in a kind of marriage affair. So his stories are very interesting. He was actually an attendant to Lord Shiva in Kailash. He kind of enjoyed a lot of privileges with Lord Shiva, very close to Lord Shiva. But unfortunately, he had an infatuation with 2 ladies who are maids to Parvati. So obviously, he has to come back to the earth to fulfill that. So he cried to Lord Shiva, well, when we go to the earth, we will forget you. That's what we all do, right? So Lord Shiva said, don't worry, you will forget me, but I will come and remind you. That's what happened. Now, he was born as a Brahmin boy, I think, and then he was adopted by a king, and he's going to get married. There's the marriage function happening, an old man walks in. He comes and he messes up with the marriage. He literally messes up. And that is Lord Shiva, none other than Lord Shiva. You think he is very auspicious. He can do all kind of things. Yeah, but it will all end up in auspicious things, right? So Lord Shiva comes and reminds him, hey, you are my devotee, you are my slave, you cannot marry. Initially he gets angry, he fights, that's what we do, we fight with the Lord, right? But then he yields, and then he understands, and then he becomes a very sincere devotee of Lord Shiva. But his prarabdha was to marry 2 girls. So he goes on to marry one lady, and then that doesn't finish there, he marries another lady. So when he about to marry the second lady, he sends Lord Shiva as a broker, literally. And then the first lady is upset, then he comes back, he makes Lord Shiva as a negotiator. He asks Lord Shiva to give money so that his wife can do a function. He is all kind of things he asks, so that whatever pravajanams I heard, everybody said he's a strange devotee. He's not like a... I thought, no, I'm like him, you know. I kind of ask all kind of things. I'm not like a Parswami or Sambandha or Manika Vajagar. I felt I'm like him. Like I ask all kind of things. My flight is delayed. Lord Shiva, what are you doing? I didn't get my rental car. What are you doing, Bhagwan? Rental car? You know, all kind of things. My daughter should get into the university. My son should eat food well. I mean, all kind of things. Right? So I think even though the experts or maybe the people who do pravajanam are very pure, they may identify with Apar Swami and all. This is my guy, actually.
Hope you not second marriage.
What's that?
Hope you no second marriage.
This is getting recorded. Alright, so what do we learn from Sundara Swami? So from Manika Vajagar Swami we learn that we don't exist, but we can cry and get to the Lord. Sambandar Swami made a reassurance that Lord Shiva is in the heart. Sundara Swami says that, you can cry, but cry by taking my name or Lord's name. So this is a very famous poem. I will read the English and then I'll let you read the Tamil. O my Lord, residing in Tirupandi Kodumudi, you are renowned for how the learned Pandits worship your form in penance. Without any other support, I have taken only your feet in my heart as my sole refuge. After being born in this human form, I have now gained your blessings not to be born again. Even though I may forget you, my tongue will repeat your name, Namah Shivaya.
பாவித்தே மற்று பற்றென கின்றி நின்றிருப்பாதமே மனம் பாவித்தேன் பெற்றலும் பிறந்தேன் இனி பிறவாத தன்மை வந்தேதினேன் பெற்றலும் பிறந்தேன் இனி பிறவாத தன்மை வந்தேதினேன் கற்றவர் தொழுதேத்தும் சீர்கரையூரே பாண்டி கொடுமுடி கற்றவர் தொழுதேத்தும் சீர்கரையூரே பாண்டி கொடுமுடி நற்றவனை நான் மறக்கினும் சொல்லும் நான் நம சிவாயவே.
Thank you. So this song is very important because this song was taken up by many devotees of Bhagavan and they kind of recited in front of Bhagavan as their song. T.K. Sundareshwar, Devaraj Mughaliya. And I also felt that that Lord's feet in the heart, that is the only refuge. Bhagavan also prays in Navamani Malai, Kannayum than Kalaninayil Kadal Perukka Tharuvayil. So then why we get into this Matru Patru when the only thing that is going to save us is Lord's feet in the heart. We get into Matru Patru because we think there is some happiness outside. So it is said in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. That means it is because of the Atman that somebody likes something. The husband loves the wife not because of the wife, just because of the self, the Atman is in the wife. The father loves the son, not because of the son, but the Atman is in the son. So the same thing, we forget that the Lord's feet is in our heart, and then we get into Matru Patru. But Sundara Swami says there is no point in having that. The only thing I want is your Lord, your feet in my heart. Pettalum Pirandhen, again, my interpretation was that we are born, so to speak, but only when you hear Bhagavan's name, you are really born. When we heard Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's name, you are born. Now the prayer to Bhagavan is, don't make me born again. That doesn't mean the next life. Now it's the right now. Like, we don't want to be born as Saibish or somebody else. We want to stay there in that feet. And he says, he is very, very, very liberal in that. He knows our mind will stray out. We cannot stay in the heart. Our mind will go into different things. But he has trained his tongue to keep that name so that it can keep on going mechanically, at least. So I thought it was really beautiful. We can cry by taking Bhagavan's name. Now coming to Apar Swami, I already told the history of him. He was a karma yogi, did a lot of service, humility personified. What does Apar Swami teaches us? So, this is a long one. Apar Swami says we can try to cry, but we can cry or do anything only by His grace. When our Lord is orchestrating the dance, how can the soul not dance? When our Lord is orchestrating the control, how can the soul not be controlled? When our Lord is orchestrating the run, how can the soul not be running? More importantly, when our Lord is orchestrating the melting, how can the soul not be melting? So if somebody is melting, it's not his merit, that's Lord is doing it. When our Lord is orchestrating the singing, how can the soul not be singing? When our Lord is orchestrating the prayer, how can the soul not be praying? When our Lord is orchestrating the vision, how can the soul not be seeing? We are coming to Ramana Darshanam now. How can the soul see Him without His revelation? We can try all kinds of things, but until He reveals, we cannot see Him. Want to try?
This Devaram Artuvital was also in the movie, but I'm just going to sing it like how Oduars sing. ஆட்டுவித்தால் ஆரொருவர் ஆடாதாரே, ஆட்டுவித்தால் ஆரொருவர் ஆடாதாரே, அடக்குவித்தால் ஆரொருவர் அடங்காதாரே, ஓட்டுவித்தால் ஆரொருவர் ஓடாதாரே, உருகுவித்தால் ஆரொருவர் உருகாதாரே, பாட்டுவித்தால் ஆரொருவர் பாடாதாரே, பணிவித்தால் ஆரொருவர் பணியாதாரே,
காட்டுவித்தால் ஆரொருவர் காணாதாரே காண்பாரார் கண்ணுதலாய் காட்டைக்காலே.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So the same token, only when Bhagavan made you do the japa or utter his name, you can do it. We cannot do it if Bhagavan doesn't want us to do it. Okay. So Urugavittal again, that bone melting love, that will keep coming in this theme. I also felt this is very similar to one saying in Katha Upanishad. I don't know the exact Sanskrit verse, the English meaning goes like this. We live not by the breath that goes in and out, but we live by him who make the breath go in and out. Mm-hmm. So it is, we all know the science not until that breath, but who makes the breath go in and out? That's the point. And here also that comes Kanbarar, carnal ever, the real darshana, who can see that? Then you will not exist to see, basically. So that's about apart from. So we finished the old 4 devotees. Now we are coming to the current Bhagavan's life. So you'll be looking for the comparable devotees. But the first one I took is an incomparable devotee. He is a bridge between, I would say, the old and the new, or I see like that. His name is Satyamangalam Venkatramaya. So little story about him. Everybody knows about him, but he's kind of a yogi kind of a person who came to meet Bhagavan in the Virupaksha cave. Many people even believe that Arunachala himself came as Satyamangalam Venkatramaya. He stayed with Bhagavan only 5 days, and each day he composed 1 poem each, and they are together known as Ramana Stuti Panchakam. Only after that Bhagavan composed the songs which are known as Arunachala Stuti Panchakam. So that tells this person's merit. Now what does he say? He teaches us how to utter or cry Bhagavan's name. O pupil of, this is taken from Ponnolar Patha. O pupil of my eyes, tell me when will I attain you? Pupil is all I can say as I am ignorant and helpless. Can you be unaware of my loud cry in anguish here at your side? Okay, that's down.
Everybody can actually.
Yeah, this is everybody.
Yeah.
எந்த நாளடைவன் உன்னை இது விழிமணியே சொல்லாய் மணியன புகழ்வதல்லான் மற்றொன்றும் அறியாதே அணிமயில் நின்றியானும் அலறுவதறிந்திடாயோ.
So what he tells us, what bhava you should have when you cry. Bhagavan, when will I attain you? That should be the bhava with which we take Bhagavan's name. And also, he says, pupil is all I can say, as I am ignorant and helpless. Obviously, he is writing for us. Because if you read Ramana Stuti Panchakam, that 5 works, you will see hundreds of descriptions of Bhagavan. Like Veda Nayakan, Veda Bhushan, and Kalpataru, Arunachaleshwar. He keep on going. The entire 5 poems are just names of Bhagavan. And he says, I don't know how to call you other than pupil. That is for us he has written. And I really like the last one. Animayil Nindriyanum Alaruvadarindidayo. There are certain words in Tamil came to Malayalam. Alaruga in Malayalam means like you're falling from a cliff. That's not something like, God save me. No, you're crying in anguish. That's the meaning in Malayalam. So I think that's the same thing here. Animayil Nindru, very close. So Bhagavan is saying to me, I didn't hear your cry. Hey, Bhagavan, you cannot say that, I'm so close. So then Bhagavan said, you're soft. No, I am alari. So you cannot, no excuses here. Animayil Nindru Alaruga. I thought it was really beautiful. In fact, I at one point for my exercise counted the names that Satyamangalam Venkatramaya used. We can make an ashtotra around that. 108 names. Easily, yeah. Okay, now we are going to the newer devotees who are comparable to the 4 devotees of old. So I'm going to take the quiz. No, Hari, nobody here. Who is the Manika Vajagar? That's easy peasy, right? So that's Muruganar. And, I think anything detailed, you please refer to Hari's, that book about Muruganar, that will be in detail mentioning what are the comparisons with Manika Vajagar and all. I just for the sake of, the completion I'm saying, Manika Vajagar was a great poet, from childhood, he adored Manikavachakar's work. When he came to Bhagavan, and he wrote a poem and brought, and Bhagavan said, can you sing like Manikavachakar? And when he completed Ramana Sannidhi Murai, Bhagavan said, oh, this is almost equivalent to Tiruvachakar. So the comparisons keep on going, so I don't need to do much work on this. One thing I want to say is, he came with the bhava of bhakti. He just melted. He couldn't even sing the poems that he composed. So everybody has jnana and bhakti and all kind of things, but he mainly came with the bhakti bhava. And that is the real seeing of Bhagavan. Because he saw Bhagavan finished him off. So that's the Unadal Khan, the Bhagavan's gaze. So that's the kind of darshanam we are talking about, not just seeing Bhagavan. And his contributions, again, Kuru Vajaka Kavai, Ramana Sannidhi Murai, Ramana Puranam, and Ramana Jnana Bodham, list keep on going. More importantly, he extracted all the important works from Bhagavan, like Updeshundiyar, Ulladu Nalpadu, Anubandham, and Atmavidya. So I think this place, most people would agree that Manikavajakar is the Muruganar. Now, what do we learn from him? He obviously says, his way was like they call spiritual chastity. Only Bhagavan, only Bhagavan. Why only Bhagavan's name? So this is taken from Sannidhi Murai. I'll slowly read the English and then let the Tamil. With zeal I served the gods of heaven. None would look at me, none would listen. Empty names, mere words they were. But Venkata, firm and strong, said, fear not. Now no more words and no disputes. Devoted to this gracious master, heads bent low at his lotus feet. Him we shall serve, his friendship earn. Come maidens, in this bliss let us bath and rejoice.
மீதார்வமோடு பல விண்ணோரை சேவித்தும் ஏதாக வேண்டுமென என்னை கண்ணோக்காதார் ஆராளி அன்றியருள் ஆற்றலிலராய் ஒழிய ஆதார வேங்கடனே அஞ்சலென்றார் வாதாடலற்றௌ வரதற்கே அன்பாகி பாதாரவிந்தம் தலையார் பணிவோமாய் தூய்தாய தொண்டு பட்டு தோழமைக்கே பாங்காகி கோதாய் நீராடி குளிரெலோரெம்பாவாய்.
I think you cannot say the presentation is bad. The singing itself is so good. So now, when he says, why only Bhagavan's name? Muruganar was an extremist. He wouldn't even bow down to anybody other than Bhagavan. I don't want to go to the stories, but there are lots of stories like that. But we can be a little bit gentler. We can take it in different ways. When he says only Bhagavan, we can say, no other gods will help you. We can interpret it in a different way. Actually, Bhagavan is the only Lord. He only came as Shiva, he only came as Krishna, he only came as Rama. So, Madigalil Saradena, Viraduru Nana, Madamturum, Uruvanai, Maruvine Nida. What Bhagavan tells to Arjuna is what Bhagavan is. So, just like a string in the pearls, all the different gods, like is string in Bhagavan. So, if you look at the examples, like say for example, some of the Bhagavan's devotees, Parameswaran, he was devoted to Ganapati. Where did Ganapati lead him to? Bhagavan. Kavyaganda finally came to Arunachala and prayed to Goddess Parvati. Where did Goddess Parvati lead him to? Bhagavan. Andavan Pichai was a Murugar devotee. Where does that lead to? Bhagavan. So if you read many anecdotes, mainly the face-to-face with Ramana Maharshi, that books or any other things, you will see that in the late 19th century or early or 20th century where Bhagavan was embodied, almost all the saints in India or abroad or wherever close or by came to see Bhagavan. I don't want to go to the list like Chinmayananda, Tapovan, Sivananda, you name it. So why that is? Because Bhagavan is the only God existing. And you can also take it as other way. the other methods of sadhana, like you do a lot of puja, a lot of karma seva, you do a lot of parayana, you do a lot of pilgrimages, all lead to Bhagavan. And you can take it in a material way as well, like you do all kind of support systems like financial, your social, your emotional, your insurance, your car, your house, everything is ultimately going to lead to Bhagavan only. There is nothing is going to be permanent. So I also felt that Anchalan Rain says Guruganar. Bhagavan also said Kinjim Vanjiyai Konjamam Irangilai Anjalan Rain Arudanachal. So when Bhagavan says that word, Anjalan Rain, fear not, then we don't need to worry about anything. So now we are going to Appar Swami. Any takers? You can tell any name, no problem. Your pick will be as good as mine.
Ramana Japam.
Ramana Brahmachari, Swadu Om. It's all, most of these names just came to me and then my intellect tried to find reasons rather than I find reasons and found them. So your pick will be as good as mine. But I selected Shiv Prakasham Pillai. How similar, just by looks, the Appar Swami was humility personified, and the way Shiv Prakasham Pillai stands and things in the Bhagavan and the way he presented was like humility personified. And a couple of examples. Once Shiv Prakasham Pillai was sitting in the hall somewhere, and Vishwanath Swami, who himself was a humility personified, asked Bhagavan, "Where is Shiv Prakasham Pillai? You always talk about him." So Bhagavan pointed out to him and said, "Look, at that corner in a pillar, somebody is sitting like this with the hands on chest, humility personified." Bhagavan says, that is Shiv Prakasham Pillai. In his final days of Shiv Prakasham Pillai, Kunju Swami went to meet him, along with, I think, Sri Venkatraman, then President's son. Kunju Swami is another humility personified. He went to Bhagavan and, he went to Shiv Prakasham Pillai and said, he was overwhelmed. He said, "You are the one who extracted who am I from Bhagavan, and you practiced it all your life and did namaskar." And then Shiv Prakasham Pillai just took his hands, put it on his eyes and head and said, "These hands had the privilege and blessing of serving our Bhagavan. You are infinitely greater." So that's the kind of chemistry between the devotees. I've just told those examples to tell how humble he was. And also, at some part in his life, he was staying near a temple, cleaning the temple premises and stuff like that, which made me think that there's some similarity. More importantly, you see Appar Swami's history, he went to the jails and came back. And he read all the Jain philosophy. Just like that, Shiv Prakasham Pillai was a philosopher. He studied philosophy. Nothing wrong with that, but sometimes these philosophies can be a little bit of a problem, right? We have to unlearn that to come to Bhagavan. So I took it as like Appar Swami went to Jain and came back, he went to philosophy and came back. So what is his contribution? Well, who am I? The first question Shiv Prakasham Pillai asked was, who am I? And Bhagavan is synonymous with who am I. So imagine Bhagavan is coming and to teach the world who am I, and there comes a man asks, who am I? First question. Bhagavan says, Arivena, awareness is me. And all other descriptions came later. Arivena is the answer. So I thought Muruganar came with the bhakti, like he came with melting love. Shiv Prakasham Pillai had melting love, but he came with the jnana question, like, who am I? So he asked the jnana question. And his contributions, he wrote a lot of poems like Vinnapam, Sri Ramana Devamale, Sri Ramana Padamale, and it is actually part of the Parayana, Tamil Parayana. So that shows the respect he gets in Bhagavan's life. Now, what does he teach us? So he says, more or less like deterministic, very, very similar to Appar Swami. He says it's all Bhagavan's Leela and he can only finish. He says, Lord, you have made that consciousness when it is immersed in ignorance into jivas. You alone immersed the jivas in the ocean of samsara and gave them countless misery. You alone matured their ignorance and finally destroy it by bestowing grace on them. You alone give the jivas shivahood and destroy their jivahood. Let's go to the
Avayirul mayamuru sittanai sivaral aakinai ஈசன் நீயே பவகடல் அழுத்தி அச்சீவரு களவிலா பருவரல் அளிப்பை நீயே அவிதையை பக்குவ படுத்தியவ் அவிதையை அழித்து அருள் புரிவை நீயே சிவமயம் சீவருக்கு அளித்து சீவத்துவம் சிதைத்து அருள் செய்வை நீயே.
Thank you. So basically it's almost like it's all Bhagavan's job. I don't do anything. Almost similar to no kiye karudi meita kiye pakkuva makini andar varnasala. And that Shivamayam Jivarka, when we become Shivamayam, we lose our individuality, then we become Shivamayam. It's almost like that Unadal Khan, that kind of same philosophy. And I also felt that this is more or less like a little bit like Bhagavan's Upadesha to the mother, like, everything happens by its own course. Now we are going to the next devotee, who is Sundara. Any takers?
Sadhu.
Sadhu, okay. Huh? Kaviganda. Annamalai Swami, yes. Again, there is no right or wrong. I mean, this is all our bhava only. But I took Kaviganda. The reason is Sundara is one a little bit of friendship with Bhagavan. I wouldn't want to dare to say Kaviganda had that to Bhagavan. Bhagavan somehow kind of little bit of freedom allowed to Kaviganda. Little older than him. Even when he came to Bhagavan, he had around 200 disciples. So then Kaviganda said, you should all consider Bhagavan as your guru, not me. The disciples used to call Kaviganda Nayana. So Bhagavan started calling him Nayana, which means father. But Kaviganda said, no, you cannot call me that. But Bhagavan just convinced, or somehow it came that Nayana also means son. So in that way he took it. And he was considered to be the Sanskrit poet in that Bhagavan's court, just like Murugan as the Tamil poet. Another thing I thought was Kaviganda had some sankalpas, like other devotees. Not like marrying other person or something, but he had some sankalpas like India should get freedom, India's upliftment. A lot of sankalpas even after coming to Bhagavan. Bhagavan one by one took it away, but some sankalpas were there. And the third thing I felt was like, just like Muruganar came with Bhakti, and Shiva Prakasham Pillai came with Jnana, Kaviganda came with like a question of Upasana, or a question about yoga. The first question he asked is, what is tapas? Right, so that's a different perspective. And the instruction Bhagavan gave was beautiful. Today morning, the reading was there, right? So, you look where thy feeling comes, the mind gets absorbed there, that is tapas. When a mantra sound comes, you look where the sound is coming from, mind gets absorbed, that is tapas. And so between Muruganar and Kaviganda and Shiva Prakasham Pillai, the first encounter itself really condenses all the sadhana and Vedanta, like Bhakti, Jnana and Upasana, everything. And he also had that Kapala Veda in the recent times. We don't hear anybody having that. Now his contributions, the most important I feel is the name Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. That is given by him. We cannot ignore that. Secondly, when the mother's samadhi, he was the one insisted on a samadhi and temple, and he gave the name Mother Bodheshwara temple. And he extracted Pancharatnam from Bhagavan. And his own works, Ramana Chatvarimshat, which is sung every day in the ashram, and Ramana Gita and Uma Sahasram. I also found a little correlation, like Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters. So he tried to emulate Ramana Gita, 18 chapters. Ramana Gita, written by Bhagavan or told by Bhagavan, he wrote it down. Bhagavad Gita, Vyasa told, and Ganapati wrote it down. And who is Vyasa? Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave. So Vyasa is Vishnu himself, Vishnu is Bhagavan only. So that Bhagavan Ganapati connection is still there. Now, what do we learn from him? So this I felt very important that what I learned. This is one verse I really like in him, that when we try to do sadhana or otherwise, there are a lot of distractions. Lots of distractions. We get frustrated with that. But he says distractions are also coming from Bhagavan. This is from Chatvarimshat. Even though I myself am very far away from your holy feet, when on this occasion the dance of Shakti commences, O Bhagavan Ramana, the knowledge that your power, blazing as the sun and foremost in the universe, is not remote from me, has caused the sorrow of mine to vanish. Do you want to sing it or? Okay. I can say it, I'm saying it. Soham Jado Ramana Bhagavan Padayos Dedavishto Yadyapashmin Mahadi Samaye Shaktila Se Pravade. Ardhar, why don't you sing it?
Soham Jato Ramana Bhagavan Padayo Sedavishto Yad Yasmin Mahati Samaye Shaktilasye Pravrutti Suryasyeva Jwalita Mahaso Te Duragam Nata Shakti Visvasyagam Tavamamano Bita Dukam Tatapi.
Thank you. So basically what he's saying is when we are at Bhagavan's lotus feet, when we get a deep meditation, we are all happy. But there are other times we are not very happy because the thoughts take us away. But what he says is that's also Bhagavan's Shakti only. We feel helpless because we cannot go back. But don't worry, Bhagavan's grace will work, it will take you back. I really like that Surya Sweva Judidama. So the comparison with Surya, Bhagavan is the sun of Jnana. The only difference is the sunlights get emitted all over. It will throw light at some point and that's it. But Bhagavan's rays of grace, even though that has a power to take you out sometimes to remote distances where you get bewildered, it is unlike sun rays, it's magnetic rays. It will take you out, it will bring you back as well. So I feel that it was really beautiful thing. I also wanted to tell one thing was Kaviganda's devotion was also not low. One of the letters he read to Bhagavan, he had a letter correspondence with Bhagavan. So one of the letter he writes, I am unable to compose the usual words in praise of Bhagavan at the end of my letter today, overpowered as I am by some excessive exhilaration. That was the day of his wife's first Shraddha, first death anniversary. So he was emotionally overpowered. And finally he writes, it does not matter. It does not matter. For my very breaths are in praise for you. So that's what the attitude we also should have, like, the breath that comes out is the similar thing. Recently I read a book from Ashram about Sub-Registrar Narayana Iyer. One sentence struck me very much. So out of context I'm going to read that. Narayana Iyer writes, I consider my life itself as a long prostration to Bhagavan, our Father. All right. So now we're going to, you're waiting for Jnana Sambandha, I know. I didn't get him. So these are the four old and new. Manikavajar are somewhat similar to Muruganar, Sundara to Kavyakanda, Apart to Shiva Prakash and Pillai. As I said, like, it's just imagination. I don't have to anything to claim. It's just for the devotional aspect, I said. Jnana Sambandha is like a wonder kid, getting enlightenment at 3 years and then singing poems from that age with a lot of authority, and then attaining Samadhi at the age of 16, and he took the entire village to blazing fire of Shivas. It's a very hard act to follow, but I'm not disappointed. I think he might come as one of these devotees' sons or daughter. He might come. So let us wait. Alright. So now I'm going to talk about a couple of devotees. No comparison, just to complete the story, okay? T.K. Sundaracharya. I really love him. He's, again, his poster itself is like tells a story. He's almost like a creeper ready to go around Bhagavan. Like, he came to Bhagavan at a very young age. He had a long association with Bhagavan. After that also, he was teacher to all the grand nephews and nieces of Bhagavan. He wrote the foreword to Bhagavan's collected works. So his position is very strong. But I really love this book, At the Feet of Bhagavan. He tells Bhagavan that he can summarize Bhagavan's teaching in one sentence. He tells Bhagavan, and Bhagavan said, go ahead. So he says, Bhagavan alone is, and everything else only seems to be, but really is not. So he really put that Vedantic truth, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, in a very beautiful way. And the next one I really like more. He who meditates on Ramanaya Namaha is free from fear of death. When death approaches and the self is veiled, meditation on the sacred word of Ramana rescues me from death by putting an end to death itself. So it's known in the spiritual and the Vedantic circles that, the last thought, last word you utter at the time of death will decide your next life. But unless you take Bhagavan's name all your life, how will you tell that name at the time of death? Look at Mahatma Gandhi. He was such a big Rama Bhakta. Mahatma Gandhi, the social one. We know him as a political leader, freedom fighter, and also, but he was a big time Rama Bhakta. Kept on doing Rama Japa, Rama Japa, Rama Japa. He had an unpredicted and unexpected and violent death. Somebody shot him on the chest. Hey Ram, that's what he said, right? So to say that, you have to say Bhagwan's name all your life, right? So what I'm trying to say is that Bhagwan, I don't have that power. I'm saying now, Ramana, I said it, okay, take it away. Now you should come at least at the time of death and say. So I felt this was really, really beautiful. Alright, now, coming to the last but not the least, I thought, he is, to me at least, an embodiment of perseverance. This is from one of his scrambled notes. He wrote, meditate and do japa without seeking anything. And it was given to me by a very sincere devotee very devotee friend of Dennis. No names here. People who don't know Dennis, he was attracted to Bhagavan. He was born in North America. Attracted to Bhagavan by the age of 18 or so. He was the right hand of Bhakta Bhagavat. Arthur, who sits there, was a close friend of Dennis, who can tell more about Dennis. So he spent all his life to build those ashrams in New York and maintain them in Nova Scotia. Not only that, he helped build a community of devotees in North America and kind of became the born. This retreat also is an example of his work. So I think he owes that respect. And if I take something from him, that is perseverance. Every email, every talk about any question about sadhana, that is perseverance.
Old hall. Old hall was
Old hall, yes. Yeah. We can keep on going. I was just give. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so now let's go to Bhagavan. Now Bhagavan, as usual, he doesn't like to use too many words. So all those old devotees and new devotees that is condensed in here. So his reassurance is that in the recess of the lotus-shaped hearts of all, beginning with Vishnu, there shines as absolute consciousness, the Paramatma, who is Arunachala Ramana. When the mind melts in love of him and reaches the innermost recess of the heart, wherein he dwells as the beloved, the subtle eye of the pure intellect opens and he reveals as pure consciousness.
Ariyadidhara Jeevaradagavari Jaguhayil Arivayami Paramatuman Arunachala Ramanan Parivanula Muruganala Paranadidu Guhayadu Arivam Virithiravam Nijam Arivayadu Veliyam.
So I just tell the context of this story, this verse. Again, another Kerala devotee. I think his name is Amritanatha Yatindran. He was a disciple of Sri Narayana Guru. He came to meet Bhagavan and he knew that Bhagavan is something incomprehensible. So he didn't have the courage to ask Bhagavan who you are. When Bhagavan went for a walk, he wrote something in Malayalam like Hariyo Shiva Guruvo Yadi Varano Vararujiyo Arivanuru Kudugam Mama Manasil Tava Mahima, which means, who are you? Are you Vishnu? Are you Subramanya? Are you the Lord of the Rishis? In my mind there is an enthusiasm to know who you are, and kept it there where Bhagavan see. Bhagavan went for a walk and came back, took it, smiled, back, turned around, wrote the answer in Malayalam. And that was translated to them. No time spent, just what to say about this. And I think this condenses entire Vedanta and entails everything is in this verse, because Bhagavan says...
Satish, can you tell the Malayalam one?
Huh?
Malayalam.
I don't know. I only know the question. The answer I know.
Everybody's dream. Just know the question.
So, who is, he tells who is Bhagavan in this, what is the real Bhagavan, and he also says what sadhana you should do, and he also tells what you attain, and this is the real darshan actually, right? This is the real darshan. So when you have that much love, your mind melts, and then when you come to the heart, you know who that Bhagavan is. When you know who Bhagavan is, you know who you are, you know. So everything is in this. We can go on and on about this. Arthur Osborne once said, I think, Bhagavan's presence itself is enough to capture you. If that presence is not enough, then only his looks come. And if that looks is not enough, his smile. And if his smile is also not enough, then he can go to his life and teachings. So this verse, I think, condenses everything. Mahatma Gandhi again said about, he said a very famous thing about Ishavasya Upanishad. He said, if the entire Indian scriptures were to vanish or burned out, and only the first verse of Ishavasya Upanishad stays in the memory of Indians will flourish. You might have heard that. Ishavasya Nidagum Sarvam, Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat, Tena Tiktena Bunjida, Magrada Kasya Siddhanam. Every single thing is enveloped by God. So don't covet anything. You can renounce everything and then enjoy. So that's the. So Gandhi said that is enough for the Indians. We can extend that here. This verse is enough. I mean, everything were to vanish. This is enough for the entire world for their sadhana and attain moksha, if you follow that. So, but I'm a very lazy person. So, I'm going to avoid any kind of sadhana. So, this is what my take is. So, this is from Arunachala Padikam, and actually I took only one verse. You can see how lazy I am. It says, O Arunachala, kindly place your lotus feet on the head of the rising ego as it tried to come out. Velivarai Arunachala avan talayil viri madar padathinai vaite. So you see the Dakshinamurti picture there. Dakshinamurti always keeps his lotus feet on the demon so that he can never raise, right? Bhagavan is Dakshinamurti. Now, my question to Bhagavan is this, even before I do sadhana, even before I knew who Bhagavan was, he takes me every night to his place. Every night. He takes me to his heart, my heart, where Bhagavan is. Even though I didn't know. Every night, he puts me on his lap, he fondles me, he cares me, he kisses on my forehead, he hugs me, he loves me, he heals me, he makes me one with him. Every morning he pushes me out. Why can't you put your lotus feet on the head of the rising ego as you try to come out? Then I don't need to do any sadhana, right? So that's my prayer. That's my prayer to Bhagavan. He said that to one of the monkeys, right? He does the teaching, but he doesn't do what he tells. He was in the old hall. He was sitting quiet. So he was in silence. Everybody went into silence. There was a fruit tray on the front. You know that story. Most of you heard that story. And the monkey sneaks in. He thought everybody is silent. Come and try to take the fruit. Bhagavan looks at, or Bhagavan's eyes are always open. The monkey looks at Bhagavan. I don't know. Monkey got still. Imagine, monkey got still. For minutes. He cannot move. He just like staring at it. Finally, the monkey thing won, and he took the fruit and about to go, Bhagavan asked him, why can't you stay like that? Which empire is getting lost? Then you had to run away. He teaches all those things, and then he still kicks me out. Then my question is, why do you do that? You tell them, you can keep his feet on my head. And actually this summarizes one very, very famous thing in Bhagavatam. It's called the core of Bhagavatam, called Chatushloki Bhagavatam. In Chatushloki Bhagavatam, Lord Vishnu is lying in his Yoga Nidra. He wanted to create all the worlds. So he created the worlds, and then he wanted a creator too. So Brahma came from his belly button, which is considered space. Lord Vishnu is none other than Ramana Maharshi. So the lotus flower, the lotus flower has a big stalk and then 1,000 petals. And Brahma is sitting there. Brahma looked at, there is a lot of ocean, lands and emperors, sky, all kind of things already created. But unlike us, who get bewildered by all these things, he was very intelligent. He thought, the first question he asked was, who is this I who see all these things? He was the first disciple of Ramana Maharshi, Brahma. So he just asked that question, and then he sort of had to find out. So he started doing tapas, which is vichara. He just kind of started folding all the petals and coming out. The 1,000 petals basically means your layers, like layers of thoughts and concepts and mind and intellect. So he folded all the things and then came down upside down in the stalk. You had to come, it's very thin, right? You had to come upside down. He came upside down. This is all I made up. This is not in Bhagavad. It comes upside down. And that stalk is basically, that journey is the Aham-spurti. That much only you can go. You can all stop all the contents and all, then you can come and ask, who am I? Come to Aham-spurti and then keep on going, keep on going. I don't know how long we go. But Brahma finally went and saw Vishnu. Vishnu said, hi. Brahma said, what? What am I to do? No? You go create the worlds. You are Brahma, you are the creator, go create the worlds. The Brahma said, you already created the world. Yes, but you just go and sit there and pretend you are creating. So Brahma did that. He went out and then went and sat down in the lotus feet and pretended all that creating. That's what exactly we do. We just pretend we do all the things, right? We just look around and say, oh yeah, this presentation, oh, nice presentation and all that things. It's already been done, it's all done. But we pretend. But the thing is that we can do the pretending part of it, but we cannot do the sadhana Brahma did. Like folding all the petals and going. Right? So that's why I'm telling Bhagavan again, don't expect me to be like a very intelligent person like Brahma. Just put your lotus feet on my head. So I'm going to summarize now. So basically, we took a lot of verses from a lot of people. Basically, we are looking at taking Bhagavan's name and seeing Bhagavan. So Manikavajagar Swami tells us that you don't really exist. You are a false entity. But don't worry, by grace, and you cry, you can get to Bhagavan. And Sambandar Swami says, don't worry. Bhagavan is playing Veena inside your heart. So even though you're a false entity, you just keep crying and things will happen. Sundara Swami says, cry, but just take Bhagavan's name and cry. Okay? Apar Swami says that, you want to cry, but only with Bhagavan's grace you can cry. Satyamangala Venkataramayar says that, yes, you cry, but you cry like you're so close and in a topmost voice. Not in the loudness of the intensity of devotion. It need not be loudness. And with the feeling that, when will I attain you? When we come to Muruganar Swami, he says, only Bhagavan's name. And only Bhagavan is the refuge, none else. Whatever you do will finally come to Bhagavan. Shiva Prakasham Pillai almost does the same thing like Apar Swami. It's all Bhagavan's work. Bhagavan at the right time will finish it off. And Kavya Ganda says, during this process, distractions will happen. Don't worry about it. Bhagavan will come bring you back. And Bhagavan himself teaches everything, condenses everything, saying that, don't worry, I'm in your heart. That is the real Ramana Maharshi. And if you have love towards me, you melt and come to me, then you know who you are and who I am. Because I am lazy, I don't want to do sadhana, I am praying for this every day. People might ask, okay, am I suggesting something? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm suggesting to myself what I should be doing, but I don't do that. I think taking Bhagavan's name, people might think, what is Bhagavan's teaching is inquiry and surrender. But taking Bhagavan's name is inquiry and surrender itself. When you call out Ramana, we know that with all this knowledge we know, Bhagavan is in our heart. Bhagavan is the self. Bhagavan is the Atman. So by calling out Ramana, we are just doing self-attention. We are attending to Bhagavan or attending to our own self. That is self-inquiry. Now, by calling out Bhagavan with devotion and a feeling of helplessness, we are saying to Bhagavan, I don't know, I can't do anything, Bhagavan, you take it away. That's absolute surrender. So this taking Bhagavan's name, it can be classified as japa, but it can be surrender and inquiry as well. But for me, I think taking Bhagavan's name is the puja, the dhyana, the mukti, the bhakti, the liberation and abidance, whatever you say, it's all Bhagavan's name. So when you take Bhagavan's name, basically what we think is we are doing it, but at some time later we will know that, it's not that we are doing it. We are being aware that it is being done by the lips and the tongue and later on by the mind. It is just the awareness that it's happening. It's not that we are doing it. And when we really go deeper, you can see that even the breath is coming as Ramana. In fact, it's coming as Ramana. And even your heartbeat, your heart is beating as Ramana. And if you really stay there, like, you go deeper, and you go deeper, you just keep on observing, then you find, you will sometimes feel that throb, that called aham stoti, that kind of a throbbing sensation. That is also Ramana. That's also Ramana. So this way, if you stay there longer, it is almost like you are very close to your heart. Then you just stay there. That's all you can go. Then you just stay there with a lot of kshama, patience, shraddha, that means one pointed attention, and bhakti, love. You just stay there. Just keep observing that japa happening inside, near the door of the heart. That much only we can do. It's almost like we are knocking on the door of the heart. And you might think that you are kind of waiting a long time, but always know that Bhagavan was waiting much more than that. Because even before we knew Bhagavan was waiting. And one day in the now, Bhagavan will open the door and give darshanam, and that's it. We absorb us. That is the end of the sadhana. That's the end of the sadhaka. Because Bhagavan alone is, Bhagavan alone was, and Bhagavan alone will be.
So for anybody that didn't know, Saibish has named his third son Ramana. So by the time he turns 18, he would have said Ramanan 1,000,000 times. And I'm jealous of that.
That's also tricking, right? Because I don't think I take enough, so I just put his name as Ramana.
When he said, I'm telling Ramana's name today, so that when the day comes, even if I forget, it will be to him. It reminds about a Periyalvar pastor. And what he says is that, Perumal, I knew that when you came in to help the Jayendra Moksha. So I'm thinking about, and then people pray to you so that you will protect us when we want you to protect. But when we need it, we may not remember that. So அப்போதைக்கு இப்போதே சொல்லி வைக்கிறேன். So this is Periyadwar. I think it was somewhere in the 7th century. I'll read it out here. Okay. துப்புடையாரை அடைவது எல்லாம் சோர்விடத்து துணையாவர் என்றே ஒப்பிலேன் ஆகிலும் நின்னடைந்தேன் ஆணைக்கு நீ அருள் செய்தமையா கஜேந்திர மோக்ஷா. ஏப்பு என்னை வந்து நலியும் போது அங்கு ஏதும் நான் உன்னை நினைக்க மாட்டேன். I may not remember you. அப்போதைக்கே இப்போதே சொல்லி வைத்தேன் அரங்கத்து அரவணை பள்ளியானே.
Also, Ramana's feet is always on Saibish's head because his abode is known as Ramana Pada. I have been there, I can vouch for it.
There is a similar incident in Day by Day when Devaraja Muraliar sings the verse by Muruganar, non-marakkinum in
Namachivaya.
Originally Devaram by Upper and Muruganar composed equivalent verse. Vedanan mudi melvilangidum vittaga unai meyada idalalinai illadorimbam eline ramaneshane பாய்தலற்ற மனத்தவர் தொழும் பாண்டிவன் சூழியற்பதி நாதனே உன்னை நான் மறக்கினும் நாச்சொலும் உந்தன் நாமமே நாச்சொலும் உந்தன் நாமமே மொழிந்திரத்தோடும் முத்தனை உன்னை முன்னலால் ஈனமற்றதோர் இன்பனன் நிலை எய்தினேன் ரமணேசனே பானமாத்தகும் பைந்தமிழ் பழம் பாண்டிவன் சூழியற்பதி ஞானமே உன்னை நான் மறக்கினும் நாச்சொலும் உந்தன் நாமமே நாச்சொலும் உந்தன் நாமமே தூய பூவிடை தூங்குகின்ற தூயனே உன்னை தோய்தலார் ஏய சொல்லை இகந்த பேரின்பம் எய்தினேன் ரமணேசனே பாயலற்ற மனத்தவர் தோழும் பாண்டிவன் சூழியற்பதி நாயகா உன்னை நான் மறக்கினும் நாச்சொலும் உந்தன் நாமமே நாச்சொலும் உந்தன் நாமமே நாச்சொலும் உந்தன் நாமமே